Hello, good morning and welcome to Thoughts and Updates here in not so sunny Kirkintilloch. The process through which I am going is that I'm taking you through the trails and tales from Eastern Berkshire Council within, as it stands at the moment, Kirkintilloch in the Waterside Trail. It is raining, it is the last Sunday in October. We have just had the clocks going back overnight, and the next part of this trail is just exactly here. Now I am down so you can see it in its glory, and part of the trail is to walk across it. So I'm doing that because in this stunning wonderful weather it's probably better to see here and it's less exposed down here underneath the trees than it is up there. So what is there is an aqueduct, and I am next to what's called the Logie, which is a small kind of river that goes underneath it. And what that aqueduct does is it takes the canal across the Logie. So it has been man-built in order to transfer boats from Glasgow to Edinburgh. Let me think about that. That's Edinburgh, that's Glasgow, as part of the canalway. So a feat of engineering that was built in the late 18th century, actually finished in 1775. So it's been there for about 200, almost 250 years. It's 124 feet long. It's got a single arch, as you can see there, with a span of 45 feet, and it's 90 foot wide. It was designed to allow 2 canal boats to pass, so it's a full width. And as is the norm, when I come across something like this, it springs into me thinking about things which are more modern, more now. And this span of aqueduct, which of course, as we know, the original aqueducts were built by the Romans, and there's a massive amount of Roman history right throughout this particular area. Not that I've actually talked about it, which is quite interesting because Eastern Berkshire Council have, of course, developed this whole thing on the basis of not, I believe, talking about the Roman history, which is so deep and rich and wonderful and fantastic, but to look at the other history that's round about us. And part of the reason for doing this the way that I am is because I've always believed that those who forget the lessons of history are condemned to repeat them. So, what would be the thing that's 250 years old that we would want to keep? And I suppose one of the things that I hear constantly, not only in the work that I do, but daily from others, is, you know, in the good old days, it used to be that the sun never set, that we were able to leave our front doors open and never have fear of being robbed, that you knew who your neighbours were, that there were people round about you who supported you in any way possible. Some of that may be true, because it may be people's experiences of the time. It wasn't mine, and it wasn't many others either, that I have delved deeper into. Once you get past the prejudice of age, I think that the truth and honesty of the past is something that begins to come out more and more. But anything that lasts over 200 years should obviously be relevant if it's to be kept. And one of the things that's the most obvious that I believe should be ripped up is the Act of Union. The agreement between England and Scotland, not just to live in harmony, but to live together ostensibly as one country, sharing a common parliament, a common cause, and a common way forward. That's been lost, politically certainly, because in Scotland we have a more left-leaning, socially democrat view of the world, whereas down in England there's a far more conservative, with a small c outlook, which has led there to be a conservative government down there for the length of time that the Conservatives as a political party in Scotland have not managed to win an election, suggesting quite clearly to people like me that there is a schism, a gap between the political hope of the Scots and the political reality of the English. So we want to have an opportunity of putting the question once again to the Scottish people of whether or not we should be independent. there is no guarantee that we would win that vote, that Scotland would become independent. And the 2014 referendum, 7 years ago, gave us a bit of a kick where it doesn't always shine. Because what happened was that we went to bed that night believing there was a possibility that we were going to be independent, and woke up the following morning to discover that the majority of Scots who voted against independence by a slender and slim majority, meaning for me and for many others that revisiting that decision is something we ought to do, not as quickly as possible, but when circumstances are fervent, change has happened, there are reasons to go back to it. Taking Scotland out of Europe as part of the United Kingdom, for me, was that catalyst. There is little doubt that Scotland, who overwhelmingly voted to remain in the European Union, and the United Kingdom, who narrowly voted to come out of the United Kingdom, shows once again that there is quite a clear difference between the Scots and the English in terms of outlook, politically and also morally. We see ourselves as far more international, far more European than the narrow-minded Brexiteers did in England. And I believe if we were to revisit that vote, it may come up, even in England, with a different answer too. But for now, that's not on the agenda, it's not going to happen. But for Scots, we have asked, and we have asked, 13 elections in a row, the Scottish National Party, the principal party campaigning for independence, has won landslide victories. And we still cannot enforce the opportunity of asking the people once again. Never forget the people is a slogan for the local authority that I was born into in South Ayrshire. It's an Ayr slogan that I think is apt. Never forget the people. There is something that's 200 years old that I think should be used now, to allow us the opportunity to ask again whether or not Scots feel they have the right to take on the responsibility of their own country and to take them out of a political union which I believe, and many, many others do, has served its purpose and should be consigned to history. It's not as permanent as an aqueduct designed to take boats from one city to another. So, until next week, and the next part of this trail, which will take me further down that way, it's bye for now.